Welcome to America's Horse on America's Trail with the Mustang Discovery Ride. I'm your host, Julianne Neal. Over the next 12 months, we'll be following tip trainers Hannah Catalino and LISANNE Fear, along with Abilene, Bagheera, Chili, Cody, Finn and Rosette, and of course, Fyra and Caillou, as they cross the American Discovery Trail on a quest to bring attention to the plight of America's Mustangs. With a goal of 5,000 miles, 5,000 Mustangs, the Mustang Discovery Ride team hopes to bring attention to adoption into appropriate homes for these living legends. We hope that you'll join Hannah and LISANNE on this journey of a lifetime by following the Mustang Discovery Ride podcast. Enjoy the ride. Welcome to episode 2 of the Mustang Discovery Ride podcast. Today, we'll catch up with Hannah and LISANNE on the road as they take a few days to organize the new truck and trailer rig for the rest of the journey. We'll kick off the chat with a flashback to our first days of filming, where we had the chance to connect with Jacqueline Taylor from Equus TV.
This is pretty cool. You know, I mean, and that went smooth. There's not much cutting. Other than when you bug it.
Lay down.
Podcast.
Yeah, podcast. Kind of
Ready for the snap?
Yeah. I like the snap. I think Lisa likes snapping.
She does. That's her job.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
A good behind the scenes.
All right, so here we are for take 2 of the girls and your first guest. Jacqueline Taylor, which you're not
Yes.
really a guest, Jacqueline. I mean, you've been along since the beginning, right?
Yes.
So you guys met at the Extreme Mustang Makeup. No, at Art of the Cowgirl.
Yeah.
So tell me about the first time you saw these two.
Well, I got to meet them at the Art of the Cowgirl Festival, and I was running around with Lisa, and we were doing interviews, and it was my first time in Montana, so I was definitely enjoying the views and met them throughout the few days I was there periodically, and then we actually got to get together and do an interview, which is when I really got to know them more. And so I didn't know much about what they did and the journey or anything like that until we were actually doing the interview, and I got to hear all about what was going to happen. So it was very exciting to hear. And I didn't even know really about Mustangs or any of that. So it's been a very cool learning lesson for me, this whole experience.
So what in the world possessed you to decide to do the ride along? How did you make that choice? Did it just come to you?
Well, I would say I'm pretty sure it was Lisa you called me or someone and said, hey, we want you to go on this ride. You have an opportunity. Do you want to do it? And I was like, yes. I mean, there was not really much thought because, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity, and there was not really any questions in my head of like, oh, what's it going to take, and how long do I have in training, and all of that, and when was the last time I rode a horse? It's probably been a lot of years. So yeah, that didn't really happen. I just was, yes, it's a no-brainer.
So
I'll figure out the rest later. Yeah.
So, LISANNE, what was your first thought when you heard somebody else was going with you guys on the start of the journey?
Yeah, so we had kind of been wanting a videographer to come with us the whole time. When we first started out in this project, we contacted the guys who did Unbranded, and we actually got to talk to their producer and filmmaker, and we didn't realize in Unbranded that they had actually had someone riding with them the entire time. And so we were like, well, if they had that, we need that too. And so we were always planning on a position, and it was just crazy. Art of the Cowgirl was quite the event because we got Lisa to come on board, and then we got to meet Jacqueline here, who's now coming with us. And I mean, we're really lucky to have Jacqueline. I really admire her dedication to everything. I mean, I think she's ridden horses more in the last 2 months than Hannah and I put together. So yeah, she's been really dedicated to the project already, which is fantastic.
And made a nice little video for you guys.
Right.
Yeah, very much
Equus
so.
TV, that's true.
Yes.
So, Hannah, you've said that you might be a little bit nervous with some of the riding part. Did it change your thought knowing that somebody else is coming along, or you're just focused on
Oh,
were part of the ride.
yeah. No, I'm really admiring Jacqueline's dedication. I mean, oh my goodness. Like, I was so impressed with her when I met her. Like, she's like an all or nothing lady. Like, she had 2 cameras on us. Like, I've been interviewed by, a few cameras before, but I've never seen someone man 2 of them. I was really impressed. So I was like, okay, this lady, she's pretty gritty. So, yeah, I was really excited about that. And, I think it'll be, a learning curve for all of us. But, Jacqueline's already proved that she's dedicated, and I think that's really awesome. And LISANNE and I have been, kind of planning this trip. I think it's like 10 months now, not quite a whole year.
Yeah.
So this is something we're all here to do something great for the Mustangs, and I think it'll all be really, really awesome.
And which horse is she assigned to? Which Mustang will she be riding? Abilene the Mustang?
Oh,
Or is she on a Mustang?
man, I wish we had her on Abilene. That means that Abilene would be riding. Not yet, but that'll come later in the year. That was a hard one for me. She'll actually be riding like my Heart Mustang, the very first Mustang I ever rode and trained and tamed, and he's the one that I've been there, done that kind of guy, but we figured we'd have the most experienced horse around to carry the most fancy camera equipment and very special human around. So yeah, it was kind of hard to give it was kind of hard to give him up just for like my own sense of security, but it just made sense. So I trust him to take care of everything, and it should be good.
Care of her. Good. So Jacqueline, what have you been doing to get ready and prepare? I know I've seen some video footage of you going to town.
Yes.
How did you start that whole process?
So once I found out I was doing the ride, I reached out to a few different people and groups on Facebook trying to connect with the right person, and thankfully ended up meeting someone, and Olga Zarlinga, and she's been phenomenal in helping me just get trained. I've just get my body trained, back in shape to be able to ride a horse. So I've been riding with her. We've been doing trail rides. We have been doing riding in the arena, doing some courses, just working. Yeah, doing hands-free cantering, which was really fun. But yeah, just really, it's been a long time since I've ridden. I mean, really since I was younger. And when I rode when I was younger, it wasn't like I did a tremendous amount of riding. So somewhat refreshing my memory, but more like relearning all the basics, the signals, all the things that you need to know when you're riding a horse so that you're not annoying them, and also just to make it safe for yourself. So yeah, so pretty much I have been trying to train some days 2 days a week, other days 5 days a week, depending. And I live in Florida. It's very hot, so we train in the morning early or in the afternoon or late evening. But yeah, that's pretty much what I've been up to the past 2 months solid.
And you guys have some amazing equipment behind you. The sponsors have provided some phenomenal saddles and pack gear and all that stuff. So how will all of that go for you guys? I mean, I see some different ones. Who's riding in which saddle, and which one's Jacqueline's?
Well, this one here is Jacqueline's. It's actually a treeless saddle. So Jacqueline and I will both be riding treeless, and we're super excited to try these freeform saddles from Saddle Up LLC, and mine is right here. We also are getting sponsored by Skeeto saddle pads, and then LISANNE also has a Western saddle that has an aluminum tree. So because of what LISANNE's doing, she needs a little bit more support than what the treeless can provide. So we have these 3 amazing saddles that will be here for us to use on our journey.
Wow, that's wonderful. I love the treeless stuff. So, and what equipment will you have along with you that you'll be riding and filming and doing and all? What's your plan?
So we're gonna kind of figure that out in the next few days as we start the ride. I definitely have several cameras with me. I have, let's see, what do I have? I have cameras, I have gimbals, GoPros, things like that. Really trying to just see what we're capable of during the ride. There'll be saddle packs, but like I said, figuring that out, just getting here since yesterday, today, hopefully we'll be able to work through some of those things. And then if I can have the cameras right on me to be able to pull them out as I need them, that would be awesome, but we'll figure that out. as we go.
Sure. I think there's going to be a lot of figuring out as you go with all of it, probably.
Yeah.
So that's not a bad thing.
Their motto at this point.
Right. Wow. Well, I'm excited for you. I'm excited for you both, of course. Is there anything else you want everybody to know about your journey and your adventure before you start? We're going to catch up with you again along the way, I'm sure, but
I wanted to say one thing that I meant to mention earlier. So when I met the ladies here, like I said, I didn't really know much about them, but as I have done their last interview and editing and all of that, and they've sent me videos and I've seen what they've done on YouTube and things like that, I will say I'm most excited, obviously, about the trip and the experience, but also just to be able to learn from these two. I feel like it's such a amazing honor to be able to ride and pick their brains and, just see how they do things and just really learn from the best. So I'm very excited about that.
well, you're absolutely right, because not only will there will be people riding with you along the way, but you're stopping to do clinics. So, I mean, that's some pretty impressive times that people can come and not just ride along, but really learn how you do what you do. So that's an opportunity that doesn't come very often. So.
Yeah, for us, education was a big part of behind this trip. We really wanted to not only inspire Mustangs and burros to find good homes, but we really believe education and kind of knowing what you're getting into is really important. And I mean, that's kind of why I went into the clinician career. I realized as a trainer, I can only help so many horses. But if I can kind of pass my knowledge along to students, in the long run, hopefully that has a bigger impact because more people will be able to interact with horses differently. So that's where I'm really excited to kind of combine my travels and clinician and kind of along the trip, still teach along the way. And yeah, I'm super excited about that.
Well, I'm excited. We, in a week, I guess it is, we'll be at Tuckahoe for the celebration of the horse. My partner, Bruce, is coming up, so I can't wait for you all to meet him and y'all to have some conversations. He's a talker, so we'll have a good time with that. But then also, your first real clinic is at the end of the month, next month, with Patricia Milligan at Foxley Farm Mini Equine Rescue. And Patricia is the host of the Tiny Horse Talk podcast that we produce for her, and it's been amazing to get to know her. I know she's going to be fun. You're going to love meeting her and being there with them. And can't wait to see how that goes. Maybe you'll bring a mini in with the Mustangs too. So.
I used to have minis. I love minis.
That's what Hannah started with.
Yeah, that's how I got into the Liberty training and why riding wasn't a big passion of mine because a mini, you can't ride it. So I taught it tricks and Liberty. And
horses. That's what we were just saying.
And I taught her how to drive. So yeah, the minis kind of where I started. But then, yeah, the Mustangs really drew me away from that. But I'd love to have a mini again. I miss buying them the little mini halters and the little boots and things like that. Oh, that was fun.
That's one of the things. We have a sponsor. Cavallo Boots is one of the sponsors for Tiny Horse Talk, and we're doing a giveaway once a month. For our listeners, we're doing a drawing, and they'll win some of those little CLBs, cute little boots.
Oh my goodness!
And they're purple or they're
that's pretty adorable.
Sequin sparklies or whatever. They are just so precious. So I can't imagine Abilene with the sequin sparklies on, but you never know. I don't know.
I don't know that I'll allow that one.
I can't picture it.
You'll get your fill of tiny horses because Patricia has like 27 little minis over there.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, so that's going to be a fun time, and that'll be your first big clinic.
Okay, I'm excited.
So thank y'all for being with us again for our second episode of the podcast. And Jacqueline, good luck.
Thank you.
It's going to be fun to watch, fun to follow along. So enjoy the ride.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Stay tuned for part 2 of the podcast, where we'll catch up with Hannah and LISANNE on the road. Also, be sure and tune in next time when you'll hear from a few of the photographers and videographers who will be contributing footage to the documentary film project. Tune in next week to hear from equine journalist Diana DeRosa and photographer Rhonda Gregorio, who spent time with the team in Maryland.
Who you got in the background? I see the dogs, right?
Yeah, that's Caillou there. I'm gonna try. Oh my god, this might actually work. I don't know, maybe. Yay!
Yeah.
Okay.
can hear y'all now. That's the important thing, right?
Okay, yeah, let's just roll with this for this time. We're sorry.
That's okay. I mean, I think we're going to end up with a lot of times like this, to be honest with you. So at least we got some audio going. We can definitely go with it from there. So good. So welcome back to the podcast. It seems like forever ago that we started our first one back at Micah's place.
Oh yeah, that is true. That does seem like a while ago.
Well, y'all have been on the road now since like September 28, 29. In your minds, how are you recording the time? Is it like you think this is day 1, day 2, day 3, or week 1, or is it just all a blur?
It's all, for me, this is LISANNE. It's all just kind of a blur. I don't know how Hannah's been doing. Yeah, I don't know. This is Hannah. And yeah, I kind of started off with like day 1, day 2, and then it all kind of melted and meshed together. And I guess I've been thinking of more week by week. That's been kind of an easier way to think of time, but also place. So like, you know, saying that we kind of did our last one at Micah's, like that creates a timeline in our mind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or by mileage. I mean, yeah, time feels irrelevant for me. It just feels like mileage.
Yeah. Well, I can't wait. I know, LISANNE, I know you're doing like a journal and keeping up with things that way. And I think that's going to be so interesting, you know, once you've made it through the milestones that you have in your head. And it'll be neat for you to look back at that. And, you know, honestly, you made it through that first state. You made it through Delaware really quickly. So 4 or 5 days. And maybe that was a good thing starting out. What are the things that you'll both take away and remember the most about that part of the ride and just getting started?
Yeah, this is LISANNE. So one thing that we had talked about, or that I kept telling Hannah a lot this summer was like, I'm just so excited to swing my leg over in Delaware. Like, I'm just so excited to swing my leg over, you know, because it just felt like once we're on the ride, like we just take things in stride. And like, as we were riding out of the park, Hannah actually like asked me like, so how does it feel though, when you swung your leg over in Delaware? And I was like, it feels really good. I mean, like, we have faced a lot of challenges since then, but I mean, now we're on this trip and we're actually doing it. And like, yeah, I think we've hit the ground running and like, it's been fun. There's no more trepidation. Like, we have gotten started, and I think the biggest hurdles.
That's great. Yeah, that's really great. So Hannah, I have to ask you, you know, I'm kind of thinking of it still state by state. And one of the things that stood out to me for you guys that had to be helpful was the support of the first American Mustang and Burro chapter, that Delmarva chapter. How important was it to you to have that support in getting started? I know you had a little bit of concern about just the ride in general, since you do all the Liberty work and everything. How important was it to you to have those folks along the way that could be the roadside assistance?
Yeah, that was really a huge factor and like creating a huge like level of comfort. It kind of feels like we have a Delaware family now, and like just having such supportive community kind of pitching in wherever they could, riding with us, and just helping make sure that we stayed safe was really amazing. And really made, like, my big fear was starting in the East Coast, and now that we have DC like past 2, it's kind of like such a relief to breathe. You're like, okay, you know, there's the other challenges. Every kid is going to have the challenges. Honestly, like, really nervous about how the East Coast, you know, may be just in driving. And people have actually really, really kind. Almost, I can maybe count on my hand the number of upset drivers, like a hand. Past 100 and so miles, and that's really surprising. And we've got like too many that are either videoing or have big smiles on their faces when they drive by, and that was really surprising and really really remarkable.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I know that it was different to me to go from that. Then you made it into Maryland with the stop at Tuckahoe. And I was really impressed by you two with your collaboration for the demonstration.
I mean, Hannah, you were out just doing your thing in the middle of the arena, and it sounded like you had not done a lot of that with those particular horses before. And then LISANNE, you're riding along and talking, and it was like old hat. And then I saw you again. You were doing it in Maryland later on at Meadowbrook. So had you guys done that sort of thing before? It looked like it was old hat.
No, I mean, this is LISANNE. I've been a coach for a few years now, and like that taught me a lot. And I love public speaking, and like Hannah and I, for like those 2 demos, decided to like play to each other's strengths, where Hannah's a little bit more of the introvert and like really enjoys working with her horses, and she's gotten a lot farther with like the tricks and different things that really are audience and crowd pleasers, whereas they ride down roads, but that's about all they know. And so like we kind of played to like each other's strengths, and I think that's working out really well for both of us.
Definitely.
I also think like LISANNE also was my first intern and my first like, real student, so it's also really beneficial that she has a good understanding of the training technique, things like that. But also, I mean, there's a reason that we kind of joined together in this partnership, because like we do have similar, like we understand each other in that way, like the horses, and kind of the meeting of the minds to make this become possible. And I think, at the end of the day, like I feel like we knew we would make a really good team, and so I think that's what kind of came together out practice and with like kind of seamlessly.
Oh, definitely. I mean, and you guys seem to just have sort of your routines as you're getting going for the day, and your routines when you hit the road. And that stood out to me, I think the most. It stood out in DC. And I'll ask you about different parts of that day, but let's just say, first off, traffic to me was crazy in DC. Were you expecting it to be that way, LISANNE?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't really expect anything less. We've heard lots of things. Like we even took a road trip out east here to kind of get a better understanding of like what us and the horses were up against. But yeah, I mean, like we just kind of had to take things in stride. We all had a goal. It was crazy. Like that day we had an extra videographer that had never ridden traffic with us before. Like it would be interesting to hear her perspective on that. Like due to our Delaware induction to traffic and with our horses, I think that actually helped ease up to the next level, being able to DC safely.
With that in mind, though, it's kind of crazy to think our first and only 10 miles so far of actual trails was in the middle of DC through Rock Creek Park, which was really nice and a breath of fresh air.
Oh, and it was a beautiful park. I mean, really, I guess that was the difference in those two, one extreme to the other, the beauty of Rock Creek, and then just the crazy of the road. But so Hannah, the one part of it that was a little nerve-wracking in watching you guys that day was coming through the tunnel. Can you describe the tunnel for people who don't really know what I'm talking about? Hannah, can you tell us what was that like?
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So that tunnel is pretty intense. I mean, it's pretty narrow, and it almost is like it has tiling across the top. So it's not even like a dark tunnel. It's kind of dim, but yet like there's reflective lights at the top through all of it. And like when you're in it, the traffic, just all the noise just is ricocheting off of the walls. So everything is just amplified. You're in the tunnel. And DC was actually my burro's first day with us, which is kind of an intense first day, but at the same time, a perfect first day, because we rode on a Meadowbrook, and we're in Rock Creek Park, and then kind of eased into like, more roads and trails. He's never been in traffic before kind of suburbs and city and DC, like the middle of it. So it was actually kind of the perfect situation for him, in a weird way. I wouldn't have ever imagined. The tunnel was a little bit much. I'm the only one that got off like in the first little section of it and decided to run with my horses fast as my little legs could carry me.
Oh my gosh. thought she was going to get ran over by her horses. But I mean, like, so it was just too much for like my green, like I call him green, but I mean, I was on my little Bagheera who can't go in a straight line. It's really tight in that tunnel. And then my burro, he was really scared because we had two horses behind us and the hooves and the shoes that like clip clopping behind him. He couldn't handle it. And I just felt like my burro was going to push my horse that couldn't go straight into traffic. Which the traffic actually ended up stopping, but when I got off, they were actually slowly going past us. So I just felt like I personally had better control of my new team. This was their first day together in this kind of environment. I just felt like I had better control over them if I was on the ground. So I decided to get off in the very beginning. And yeah, I mean, I know everyone else had worries of me getting run over, but I knew Bagheera wouldn't run me over. My dog might have pushed me into traffic, but he was way ahead of me. Just honestly, just trying to keep up with him. He was just going for it, trying to get out of the tunnel as soon as possible. And Bagheera was just kind of calmly trotting behind me, kind of confused as to why I wasn't on him. So it all worked out. I was really out of breath at the end of it. That was definitely very intense and nerve-wracking.
Oh, definitely. Well, so was it worth it then to reach the National Mall? I mean, after the tunnel and all the traffic and everything else, then you get to it's like the pinnacle of the day, I guess. Was it worth it to get there?
Oh, yeah. I mean, and I feel like, I mean, honestly, like the whole thing is still settling in. We have had a few days to finally kind of think about things, but it still feels kind of unbelievable what we did with our Mustangs. Like, I feel like, I don't know, it feels like it happened to someone else, not me. I don't even, like, I don't know, like I have all the memories of doing it and we did do it, but it just doesn't feel real still. But it was like really just kind of mind boggling to think like what we did that day. And I think it's still like setting in.
Absolutely.
I mean, I've seen some of the photos come out and like, I look at the photos and I'm like, that is me, that is my horse, but I can't really believe that's me in front of the Washington Monument on my horse.
Oh gosh. I mean, it still gives me chills to think of just seeing you guys coming from so far down in front of the pond and all the fountains and everything. And yeah, I mean, just the whole group of you, it was fantastic. And like you mentioned before, having Rhonda Gregorio along and having Jacqueline Taylor along, and for them to be able to experience that too, it's just a special thing to have the different viewpoints from all of the team and everybody involved. So it's pretty exciting stuff. It really is. So I have to ask too, how you had a brief hiatus for a day or two, but now you're getting ready to get back on the road. And then you're making it over to Foxley Farm Mini Equine Rescue. And then you're going to be there for a little while and sit tight. Is that correct?
Yeah, so we'll be there for about a week. This is LISANNE, and Hannah will be teaching a clinic there. And I'm actually flying back to Montana. I need 3 root canals done and like 12 fillings. So I've been dealing with that like while on the ride. And like, yeah, thankfully Hannah and Jacqueline were both pretty understanding because like, yeah, I kind of got a little extra cranky just dealing with the pain. But I'm excited to get all fixed up and not have to deal with that anymore. But it'll be good for the horses to have a good long rest too.
Sure. I've been thinking about you with that because it's no fun to do this sort of thing and be under this sort of pressure when you are in pain. So we're all hoping that goes well and that it takes care of it and that you'll be back in the saddle really soon. So Hannah, how do you envision spending your time? You're doing some clinics and things like that, but you'll have the full care of the horses, the mules, the burros, everybody while she's gone, right?
Yeah, dogs.
And the dogs, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to think that, we'll have a week off and it'll be really restful, but I think it's actually going to be a lot. And yeah, I'm actually just looking forward to, I'm looking forward to all the amazing people I'm going to meet and just getting to be at the Mini Horse Rescue. I think that'll be a lot of fun. But honestly, just really looking forward to when it's all over and we're actually really hitting the road. And, as of right now, we don't have any events locked in, and that's a really liberating and freeing feeling to just be able to focus on going the miles that we need to cover, and if our horses need rest, just kind of going based on how horses are feeling. And I'm really looking forward to that, and actually just covering ground and getting into West Virginia.
Oh, I bet. I think that's going to be where you really start enjoying it even more, because just being out on the road is going to be great. I know that you've had some great places to stay already, but have you had a night or two that you just stopped in camp? You didn't plan ahead, didn't know where you were going to stay?
Yeah, we got to experience that. I think it was our second day in Delaware. Or Maryland, sorry, Maryland. We had no plans, kind of had an idea, and then we were like, well, we'll just door knock. And luckily, we were traveling with a gal from the Del Mar chapter at that point, and she, while we were on our little lunch, giving the horses a rest, she actually drove ahead and door knocking for us. Well, she went to look at table and couldn't get a hold of anyone there. So on her way back, she started door knocking. And sure enough, she found one of the most absolutely beautiful horse properties. Like Hannah and I I don't know. Now we're here in a pretty spectacular place. But the arena at this other place was so beautiful. And it blew Hannah's and I's mind. The people that bought the place, they were so kind and so generous, but they didn't want to own horses. So they had pulled out all of the fencing and stuff, and they were using their beautiful horse barn for actually programs, youth enrichment programs, which is great. But the family was phenomenal. They made us a fantastic, not only dinner, a 3-course dinner, and then cooked us breakfast and had coffee ready for us in the morning before we left. It's one of our best experiences on the trail, I think, in my mind. Just the kindness of strangers, because I come from small town Wyoming, and I was a little bit worried about the East Coast, but we've been shown nothing but kindness out here, and it's been really incredible.
That's just fantastic. That's the stories you love to hear, and like you said, you'll remember that for sure. And I wouldn't be surprised after being around you guys and being around all the Mustangs if they don't end up eventually down the road deciding that that's the route they want to take too. Because everybody I hear talking about this is, I think I might need a Mustang. So I think y'all are getting close to getting that attention out there and getting the adoption numbers up already.
Yeah, I don't know if I mentioned it on this podcast, but Cheleno, my main riding horse, has definitely stepped up to the plate in a large way. He's been our leader every day, and he's just kind of like Forrest Gump. He just goes and goes and goes. But prior to this trip, I didn't really ride him. I have known him for 5 years, but that doesn't he was ever my horse. I actually bought him just a week before the trip. And confirmed that he was going to be my horse. But one of the things that really surprised me was I watched this horse break a guy's collarbone spooking at traffic. I happened to be the truck causing the traffic deal. And so, I was pretty nerve-wracked about getting this horse on the road, but an animal communicator was talking to him for me, and she didn't know this story. And she told me that Cheleno really wanted me to know that he was okay with traffic. And I thought that was really interesting, and it's really proven true. He's been good. The only thing that got his goat the other day in DC was there was a tent on the sidewalk, and then a guy jumped up in the tent. And so if that's spooked at that day, it was really a good day. He's just been really amazing, and he just travels so well. So well, and he sets a good pace for the day. Everyone has to trot to keep up behind us, so he's just got my golden iron horse.
That's so awesome. So that was definitely a surprise. Hannah, how about you? Have any of your animals surprised you at all?
Yeah, definitely Bagheera. I kind of brought him along thinking I would need many weeks to train him up to be my riding horse. I thought, that Rosette, she's been my more dependable mount, but she's also had a little bit more miles
under her belt than Heath had. And I think I rode her like a couple of days before I decided, oh, no, I need to train Bagheera up. And sure enough, like now, I mean, I do on the longer days switch between the two of them, but already in the first like week or two, Bagheera had already proven that he was ready to be my main riding mount, which again, I thought I was going to have to train him like weeks or months for. He's still kind of a little bit goofier than Rosette. I mean, we were going through a intersection, and when we go through intersections, we always trot so that our whole group in our support vehicle can make the light. And like the sidewalks going to see, or not the sidewalks, the crosswalks change instead of a regular kind of like blocked crosswalk. It was kind of a crisscrossed one, like diamond shapes. And he was going, and he just did like this perfect sliding stop. And, I was thinking he might hesitate. I wasn't quite expecting him to stop, but I mean, he did really great. Just kind of like, looked at it a second and then kept going. And, even though he can be kind of silly about surfaces, he doesn't do anything. That's really been really nice. I know the more miles he covers, the more confident he's going to get. And it's just been so cool because, I mean, in my perfect ideal world, Rosette was going to be my big pack horse because she's just so awesome at that. And Bagheera was going to be my main horse, but I just thought we're going to get to that point, and here they are in the first few weeks, really establishing strengths in those roles that I was envisioning for them.
That's so fantastic. And I saw you had a Facebook post recently with, I think it was Cody with his little CLB's cute little boots on. And, it just reminds me that they're having to deal with all this stuff too, but they seem from the outsider point of view, it just seems like they're easing right into it. So congratulations on all that.
I mean, Aveline's also been surprising. It's hard to not mention her because like LISANNE was saying the other day that like, because she has Chilean and Aveline, and she's talking about how like Aveline wasn't even in line like the whole time because she was being so good, like she didn't even have to think about her. And I think that's really rewarding. She was the animal on her trip that we had the most reservations about, and for her to be adapted so well, where we're not even really like think about her because she's not behaving or anything, like has been really, really surprising and awesome too.
That is awesome. Really awesome. So, well, thank you girls for taking so much time speaking with us today. And I look forward to catching up with you, I guess, when LISANNE, when you're feeling better, and Hannah, when you've had some time to yourself, I guess, whether that's a restful time or not. But I think by the time I talk to y'all again, you'll probably make it all the way to West Virginia. So that's where I'm hoping to catch up with you. And maybe you'll let me hop on one of these guys and do a little bit of the ride.
Oh yeah, of course. Oh yeah, it's available right now.
Oh, cool. Very cool. Yeah, I think that'd be so fun. So we'll sign off. We'll let you get back to what you were doing. And as we always worry about Wi-Fi and that sort of thing, although we don't have the video part of it, it's great to hear your voices, and I'm so excited for you.
All right, thank you. All right, thanks.
This episode of the podcast is sponsored by JA Media Productions and the Equus Film and Arts Fest. Special thanks to our sponsors, the Mustang Heritage Foundation, BLK Water, and España Silk.